Hey everybody, Tom Sheehan. Just want to give you that recap from the Economic Expectations conference that I went to. So starting off with the U.S. economy, the economist's opinion was that things are still good, that we are going through a moderation period. So the economy is cooling, but it's definitely not on the brink of any type of major correction that some people have been calling for a couple of years now. So overall, we're in moderate stance. They did say that the biggest threat to the U.S. economy right now is all the tariffs and the tariff talks with China, and how if we were going to see a downturn, what that would likely look like is that these tariffs would damage one sector of the economy, maybe like manufacturing, gets all the headlines, and then we get that feedback loop where it's making all the headlines, people are consuming that, and then it sort of cycles and cycles, and all of a sudden in everyone's mind they think the economy is in rough shape. They start tightening the purse strings and stop consumer spending suffers, and all of a sudden that will push us down into maybe a more of a slowdown than we might expect if we didn't have that situation. So overall, U.S. economy looking pretty good and very encouraging. And then we get into the Massachusetts economy. Really interesting here. And what they really talked about is how the Massachusetts economy, and this is no surprise, is very strong and doing very well. We have a very diverse economy, as many people will realize. It's very knowledge-based, so we really lean on our universities, and we have many different industries that are driving the local economy. An interesting point brought up by The Economist is that 90% of our population gains, and Greater Boston is gaining population, where a lot of cities are actually losing population. We've been gaining population. 90% of those gains is a result of international immigration. So not national immigration, people from other states coming here, but people from outside the country coming to Massachusetts. And a big driver of that is our knowledge-based economy. A lot of people are coming here to learn and take part in the industries that are driving a lot of our innovation. And we've also seen in Massachusetts a shift of the population from to more concentrated in Greater Boston. So 10 years ago, 40% of the Massachusetts population resided in Greater Boston. Today it's 47%. And the speaker, who's from the UMass Donahue Institute, a group that studies public policy and local economics, they expect Greater Boston's population to continue to grow up through 2040. So there's good reason to expect we're going to see our local economy to continue to do well, especially in the Greater Boston area, because there is a disparity between Greater Boston and the rest of Massachusetts, and more people coming and wanting to live in Greater Boston. And unfortunately, our housing construction and our new housing is not keeping pace with that population growth. So really, it's hard to see there to be some major shift in the Greater Boston real estate market, or some major correction that some people have been calling for, just based on, property values just continue to rise and rise and rise, and at some point there's going to be a major correction because this is crazy. Well, I can see why people might think that. Really, there's no real way to kind of come to that conclusion when you look at the numbers that are causing the property values to go up. So The Economist talked about what might be a threat to the local economy that might impact things here more than somewhere else. One thing was immigration reform. If there's some major immigration reform that restricted people from coming to the United States, that could hit us harder than some other states, because we have such a big part of our population growth has been immigration. That would hurt the Massachusetts economy more than others. And the other is NIH funding, which is health investment, federal funding to help promote health research. And Massachusetts has tons of that. Obviously, we are really dependent on our healthcare industry, and a lot of funding comes from the federal grants, NIH grants. So if there's any reform to the NIH grants and some pullback on that, that could also hurt the Massachusetts economy. And so bringing this all back to housing, another point that was brought up is that, these low interest rates that we've seen now for a few years and really haven't adjusted back to that mid fives, low sixes that a lot of people had been predicting would happen, might just be the new norm, which would be a really interesting development. The U.S. economists noted how the Fed wants to really just target 2% inflation. Are going to base a lot of their decisions around keeping inflation at 2%. And now that we're in the global economy, the influences from outside countries on that. And the reality might be that we're probably going to hover around this 3 to 4% in interest rates for the foreseeable future, which, when you combine the fact that we're seeing population gains in Massachusetts and specifically in Greater Boston, the Greater Boston economy is very strong. Our population is outpacing our housing development, and the fact that interest rates are going to stay low, it really just spells that it'd be surprising to see some significant major correction to the Greater Boston real estate market. Now, that doesn't mean we won't see some softening of the market, because we've been in an extreme seller's market. But for those who have really just been holding out for some significant correction to the Greater Boston real estate market, there's a lot of other indications that say that probably isn't going to happen anytime soon. If it were to happen, it would likely be because of some significant event that is going to be causing issues throughout the world, not just us here. So that's my takeaway. Ultimately, pretty encouraging stuff that when it comes to the U.S. economy and the local economy, and when you kind of dig down there and what it means to the local housing market. I've been talking a lot in my market reports how I see a shift occurring, albeit a slight shift. That is not a market correction. That's just some easing of conditions. And there's really no indication to suggest that there's going to be some dramatic shift. If anything, we might just see this continuing of easing conditions, things getting a little bit easier on buyers, and hopefully we'll get more housing development and more options for people as we move on here. So hope that's helpful. If you have any specific questions to your situation, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help you and guide you through your specific situation. Just send me a message, email me, comment below. Happy to do it however I can. All right, talk to you soon.